What's up, everyone? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college football. And today we are going to be breaking down Purdue. Yes, Purdue, this one is by request. If you have a team you'd like to hear about, please leave it in the comments. And if you'd like to support the show, you like the show, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Analytics show that most of you have not done those two things. It does help a small channel like this a lot. So thank you if you've done that. I really appreciate it. And last, we are recording this on May 14th. Purdue is adding as many transfers as you could possibly imagine. They're completely rehauling their roster with the new coaching staff. So there's likely going to be a player not discussed in this video, and hopefully that's why. Otherwise, if I miss something, please leave it in the comments. But let's dive right into Purdue. This is where they finished last year in terms of efficiency metrics. This was a 1-11 team, so no surprise you see quite a few outside the top 100, mainly on defense. This was the biggest concern with the team. That was Ryan Walters' specialty as he came over from Illinois, the previous DC. Ryan Walters is now fired, and they move forward with Barry Odom, who previously coached at UNLV. But before we get to Odom, this team did finish a little bit worse than expected with the 1-11 record. Their only win came against FCS Indiana State. But when you go back and look at the analytics, there were a couple close games at the very least. This team lost to Illinois by 1 point, and they actually had a 75% post-game win expectancy in that contest. Similarly, they lost to Michigan State by 7 points in the second to last game of the year, but they had a 59% chance of winning that game. As well as other close games like Northwestern was a 6-point loss. Don't get me wrong, this was a bad team. They were not making a bowl, but this is also a team that had a lot of bad luck. And even in a game like Oregon State, they lose by 17. However, there's a play in that game, the craziest maybe of the entire season. They throw a screen pass to the running back. He drops it. Instead of the ball just landing on the ground, it lands right into his stride. He kicks the ball into the air for a pick six. Unbelievable stuff that Purdue had to go through last year. But anyway, now they're retooling everything, starting with the coaching staff. So they go out and they hire Barry Odom from UNLV, who's been an excellent coach, especially out in the Mountain West. He previously also was a defensive coordinator for Arkansas. But under Odom, UNLV went 19-8. They had an 11-3 last season. And that was despite the QB that they originally started opting out after 4 games. So Odom comes over with a solid track record and previous head coaching experience. New OC is Josh Henson. He previously coordinated the USC offense from 2022 to 2024. His background is on the offensive line. There's at least a question here as far as play calling goes because Lincoln Riley calls the plays at USC. So what do we have with Josh Henson? Defensive coordinators Mike Scher, he was with UNLV the last 2 years with Barry Odom, also with Arkansas before then. Last year, UNLV had the 22nd ranked defense in the country. So there's continuity on the staff there. Let's look at Purdue's talent acquisition. It's been all over the place. You might be surprised to see that this team was actually 27th in recruiting last year. Big surprise for me. No excuse for them being that bad. And 44% of this recruiting class is back. The year prior, they were 70th. Actually, 44% of that class is back as well. And this year, first year under Odom, they're at 90th. They're clearly prioritizing the transfer portal. It's not a cycle that Odom has had his hands on a lot. So seems like they're just punting it off, looking forward to the following season and seeing what they can do there. But Purdue, when they're running at full strength, they're never going to be Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan in terms of recruiting. But they're a team that can recruit at a top 30 level. We've seen that when Braum was previously there, and they going all the way back to players like Karlaftis and Rondale Moore. So they can do it. But let's look at the roster for this Purdue team. Here is our tool. Behind the glass we go. This is the 2-deep depth chart. As you can see, a lot of yellow. Yellow means transfers. We have the experience from the last year and 2023 as well in terms of snaps, the year they are in school, what recruiting ranking they earned in terms of stars. And then we have a value score, which looks at your recruiting ranking first and foremost. From there, the more snaps you play, the less it looks at recruiting and the more it looks at on-field production. So just trying to give a score for these individual teams. We have a power rankings tab as well if you're interested in seeing how all these teams stack up. I'll show you that very quickly. It's in this PR. So here it is. But anyway, let's go back to Purdue, who doesn't have as much turnover at QB as you might expect. Ryan Brown dipped his toes in the transfer portal, but he came back. So he's a potential option to replace Hudson Card. Brown did have to play a little bit last year, started 2 games, played in 8 of them. He's a 3-star recruit, but he completed 56.5% of his passes, 7 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, 4 Big Ten throws, 5 turnover-worthy plays. Decent mobility and decent size. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. But they brought in competition, as they did at almost every position. This is going to be a common theme. Malachi Singleton comes over from Arkansas, where he is a former 4-star recruit. Played in 4 games last year, completed 21 of 28 passes, 12.8 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, and can run a little bit as well. 4.4 yards per carry, 3 scores on the ground. It wasn't all just garbage time for him either. We actually saw him play extended time against Ole Miss, where he completed 11 of 14 passes for 193 yards and 1 touchdown. That was in week 10. So no, we haven't seen a ton of him, but we've seen a little bit, and it is promising. This is a quarterback room that is certainly upgraded on paper compared to last year. Running back, they return former walk-on Devin Maccabee, 6 feet, 207 pounds, rushed for 687 yards last year. That was at 5 yards per carry and caught 17 passes. He's basically been a 3-year starter at this point. I know they previously had Reggie Love, and when Love came in, they did work in tandem. But Maccabee has been with this team since, at least in the starting role, since 2022. And he's averaged 5 yards per carry, 32 receptions back in 2022 as well. The big knock on him is a lack of explosion, but he actually had 8 runs of 15-plus yards. And considering Purdue's offense last year, that's pretty impressive. And he has 29 of those in his career. So, yeah, he's not Trevion Henderson or one of these burner backs, but he gets what's blocked and sometimes a lot more. Been very impressed with his efficiency, considering this offense has not been a good environment. There's not much behind him. They do go out and add Malachi Thomas from Virginia Tech. He's 6'1", 215 pounds. His best season came in 2021, where he had 440 rushing yards, 4.7 yards per carry, but not a receiver out of the backfield. Didn't play a lot last year, and there's not a lot behind him. Jaheim Merriweather carried 15 times. Antonio Harris is the only other player on the roster to get a snap, and he only played 5 of them. So very inexperienced, but Maccabee has been a warrior for the last few seasons. Receiver, I mean, they replace everybody, so this is going to be a heavy transfer position. I guess as far as incumbents go, they do return Denylon Morissette, who's actually a transfer from last year's class. He's a Georgia recruit. 6'1", 200 pounds, caught 11 balls. He's a former 4-star, so this is noteworthy. 79% of his snaps came from the slot. And the only other player that I think will play some is Armand Branch, but he only played 23 snaps last year. He's now a sophomore 3-star. The crop of incoming transfers, there's a lot of them. Nathan Leacock from Tennessee, Nitro Tuggle, Georgia, Michael Jackson III, Georgia, Chauncey Magwood, UCF, Charles Ross, USC, EJ Horton, FAU, Corey Smith, Tulsa, David Washington, Utah. So up at the top, there are 3 4-stars in this group in addition to Morissette. Leacock is a Tennessee 4-star, 6'3", 217, only has 1 catch in 2 seasons, but he's been playing behind some pretty solid players over at Tennessee in Squirrel White, Dante Thornton, Brew McCoy, the list goes on. Tuggle is 6'1", 190 pounds. He's a 4-star sophomore from Georgia. Got into some trouble this offseason, so he leaves the program. He caught 3 balls as a freshman, but again, deep receiving room at Georgia. No shame in failing to see the field as a 4-star freshman. Now he's a sophomore with Purdue. Jackson is a 5th-year 4-star. Basically played with USC his entire career before trying it out at Georgia last year. Didn't see the field, only caught 1 passes, but he caught 34 in his 2 prior seasons. 6 feet, 209 pounds, playing outside a majority of the time. Behind them, I think you're largely looking at rotational players. Magwood has played, this is his 5th year in college, played 2 with UCF, 2 with Kentucky, has 17 career catches. Ross played with Nevada, San Jose State, and USC. His best seasons came with San Jose State, was unable to get on the field with USC. And then Ross mainly a slot receiver for him too. That is somewhat of an overlapping skill set with players we already talked about. Behind them, even deeper, Horton missed all of last year with FAU because of injury. He's never caught more than 13 balls in a season. Smith is a sophomore. He had 12 catches for 179 yards with Tulsa. And Washington, the Utah transfer, has actually never seen the field. So I think up at the top, you're looking largely at Morissette, Leacock, Michael Jackson, and Nitro Tuggle as your main four receivers. I would be a little surprised if it's someone else. At tight end, they lose their top pass catcher overall and Max Clare over to Ohio State. They bring in four transfers: Christian Moore, UNLV, Rico Walker, Auburn, Luca Pusinelli from Wake Forest, and Christian Earls, UNLV. Their top incumbent is George Burhan, redshirt sophomore, played 140 snaps the last 2 years, only has 6 catches, so not a ton of experience. The most experience does come from 6'3", 240-pound UNLV transfer Christian Moore, previously with Kansas State. But he's not a pass catcher. He spent most of his time blocking, where he was excellent, but only 4 catches last year. Actually, only 4 career catches for Moore. So that's a bit of a problem. Perhaps they look to former 4-star Rico Walker. Last year with Auburn, previously with Maryland, he's 6'2", 246, 4 career catches, solid blocker, so not much to really hang your hat on, but he is a former 4-star. And then we just haven't seen a lot out of Pusinelli or Earls to really give them the benefit of the doubt. On the offensive line, a completely new unit, and some of these players, actually a fair amount of them, came over in the spring. So I'm projecting this was not the unit that trotted out there this spring. I don't know. They're rotating guys around to find the best 5. Here's who I think it will be, but we'll go into some depth pieces too that might end up in the actual starting 5 as the season goes on. But we start with Jalen St. John at left tackle. This is a player who played the position with UNLV. He comes over via transfer, started the last 2 years, only allowed 33 pressures in the last 2 years. People are saying there's a chance he plays guard, which I get. This is a higher level of competition. But he's your most experienced left tackle as far as high-end play goes. So it's hard for me to see him playing anywhere else. But they do have options. They add Marcus Easley with the spring. He's the Georgia 4-star. He only played 7 snaps last year, dealt with some of the same off-field issues as Tuggle. But when he did see the field at Georgia, he played at guard, but he was recruited to play tackle. He's enormous. So I would be shocked if he's not playing tackle. And probably your starter from day one at right tackle. Largely just because you don't have that many other options at tackle. Jude McCoskey, the Indiana State transfer. That's a really low level of competition. He couldn't get on the field with Tulane, where he was originally recruited, and his play was only slightly above average in the FCS. Giordano Vaccaro from Manitoba. He was a tackle in Canada, but he's been working some at center, so not sure where he plays. Akeem Coley was a basketball player, not even recruited to play football, so who knows what he gives you. And John Randall Jr. only played 6 snaps to his name. I mean, this is a player that hasn't been on the field much either. There are a few other options. I won't get into all of them because I don't really think there's a ton of potential for them to play, but we'll see. Inside, there's more options, but the most important position to figure out is center. They don't have a lot of experience here, which is why you get Vaccaro potentially playing this position. The player with the most center experience, at least among the actual contributors, not Ethan Trent, the former walk-on, it's probably Auburn transfer Braden Joyner, who played 486 snaps last year, was good too, only allowed 11 pressures. But he mostly played guard, and he played 3 snaps at center, which actually ranks among the most experienced centers on this team. So he's a potential option. He's a good player that comes over from Auburn. The other guards they added were Hank Purvis, UNLV, Mason Vicari, UNLV, Mark Nave Jr., Kentucky, and Tyrell Green, Eastern Kentucky. Purvis and Vicari have no experience. Nave doesn't have much either. None of them have played more than 77 snaps. Green has played the most, but at Eastern Kentucky, so that's an FCS level of competition first and foremost. And then his percentile, just looking at his play on the field, 36th percentile in the FCS. I mean, what are we doing here? They also have former Notre Dame transfer Joey Tanona. He was a 4-star, but got in a car accident early in his career, hasn't played. Bottom line here, it's almost impossible for this team to be worse on the offensive line, and they have a ton of options. I didn't even go through them all. Just don't know how it gels together. This is going to be a summer job for the offensive staff. They're not going to be good, but I don't anticipate them being worse than last year, which is a step in the right direction for Odom. Defense, I'm actually a little impressed with this defense and think there's some potential here. The edge group looks pretty nice. They start with former Georgia transfer CJ Madden. He's a 4-star. He got injured 3 games into last year, but he had solid production when he was on the field there. Behind him, they add CJ Nunnally, the 4th from Akron, TJ Lindsey from Auburn, Miles Mitchell from Monmouth, Breon Ishmael from Michigan, and Breland Charles from North Texas. So it's another abundant transfer group. Nunnally started the last 2 years for Akron. Actually had some awesome pressure numbers, 24 and 39. It's the max, so we'll have to move that forward. Lindsey from Auburn is a former 4-star, has only played 10 snaps, but he gives some inside-out versatility as well. He's listed between 270 and 295. Not sure how you get a 25-pound discrepancy, but that is the difference between sites. Mitchell, the Monmouth transfer, he was awesome there, but low level of competition. Ishmael's a 3-star for Michigan, only 17 snaps of experience. And Breland Charles from North Texas, 455 snaps last year, 24 pressures, above average, but now he has to jump up. And this is a player that originally began his career with Lamar. So Big Ten, big step up from Lamar to North Texas, now to Purdue. Inside, they had Marcus Moore Jr. from Akron and Elijah St. John from Long Island. Moore played 507 snaps, decent overall numbers, jumping competitions, pretty big. St. John, same thing. He was very good in the FCS, 18 QB pressures from the interior. Just not sure if they can make the jump. They also have Ian Jeffries from Arkansas State, Josh Burney from Fort Valley State. Neither project to be solid contributors. Fort Valley State is D2, so we'll see what they can do. This is a position that actually has some players back. Jamarian Harkless played 127 snaps. Drake Carlson, 131. D'Amico Kennedy, he played 90. All of them are sophomores, so potential for them to take a step forward as well. I think the edge group is much more proven than the interior, but again, hard for either of these positions to be worse than last year. This was one of the worst run defenses in football. At linebacker, completely remade room. Manny Powell comes in from UNLV, Alex Sanford Jr. from Arkansas, Carson Dean from Arkansas, Charles Correa from UNLV, and Sanders Ellis from Tennessee State. They also got back Jamarius Dinkins, who played about 90 snaps the last 2 years. Powell, he originally played with Arkansas before he transferred over to UNLV, played well last year. He actually was excellent as a pass rusher. 20 pressures, 59 tackles, and he didn't play the full season, so Powell's a good place to start. The Arkansas transfers, Sanford and Dean, have not played a ton. Correa as well has not played much. And finally, Ellis, he's played 836 snaps. That was last year with strong numbers, but this is in the FCS. Linebacker certainly is a weakness for this defense. It is not the strongest position. They'll be banking on what they get out of Sanford and Dean. I anticipate Manny Powell is going to start right away. Defensive back, no way around this unit being better too, just with the talent they brought in. Boundary corners, they bring in Tony Grimes from UNLV, Chad Brown, Nevada, Ryan Turner, Boston College, Chalil Cummings from Memphis, and Trevion Wright from Mississippi State. Starting with the players we expect to play a lot, Grimes has now started for 3 straight seasons. He has nearly 2,500 snaps to his name. Played with UNC for 3 seasons before starting with UNLV last year. 60% completion into his coverage, but only 211 yards. That's 7.8 yards per reception, 4 PBUs. He's going to start on the boundary. I think the other boundary corner is either Ryan Turner or Chad Brown. Brown comes with more experience. He's in his 5th season, but he's only started one of them. Last year with Nevada, he had 4 PBUs, 1 interception, 47 tackles. You have the higher in talent with Turner. He's formerly the 4-star from Ohio State. Played with Boston College last year where he had just 215 snaps. And then behind them, Cummings and Wright. Don't think we see either of them play, just 20 snaps combined between the two. In the slot, they will likely turn to Taj Rael from Memphis. He only played in 4 games with Memphis last year, but he previously started in 2023 with Old Dominion. He's been solid since he played. Even his 4 games with Memphis were good. Since he took over the starting job in 23, he has 4 PBUs, 2 interceptions. He's a solid slot corner. They also have former 4-star Zeke Williams, played 12 snaps last year, but Purdue hasn't recruited a lot of 4-stars, and a lot of them are gone. He's still there, so at least worth mentioning. Safety, they bring in Crew Wakely from BYU, Hershey McLaurin from Houston, Richard Tony Jr. from TCU, and then Darius Coffey from Memphis. Two most likely to start are Crew Wakely and Hershey McLaurin. Wakely, he started for BYU most of the last 2 seasons, been banged up a little bit in there. 103 tackles, 5 PBUs, 3 picks in that span. McLaurin was originally a rotational player for West Virginia before he transferred to Houston last year and became a full-time starter. He's the player I have the most questions with in the secondary, but honestly, his numbers are docked because he missed 18 tackles. He was decent enough in coverage. So if he can clean up some of the tackling, McLaurin should be solid. Tony, he was previously of Nevada where he started, but then he transfers up to TCU, couldn't get on the field. We'll see what he can do this year. Coffey, he played just over 500 snaps the last 2 years with Memphis, but he's been a liability in coverage, allowed 30 of 39 targets to be completed. The only other players of note, Smiley Bradford is back. He played 213 snaps last year as a freshman. His grades look horrific, but 3 of his 4 starts came against Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State. So maybe we should give him a little bit of courtesy. As a freshman starting with this Purdue team against those teams, I mean, that's tough. At kicker, they returned Spencer Porath. I don't know if he's going to start, but he is experienced. Made all 17 of his extra points, but he was pretty bad on field goals, 7 of 11. He was 6 of 7 from inside 30, but only 1 of 4 beyond 39 yards. They do bring in Seth Turner from UConn, who's technically listed as a kicker/punter. Didn't kick it all with UConn, basically just a punter, but he's some competition overall. As far as the schedule goes for Purdue, we'll bring you there because that's going to be important as they move forward with this new regime. We have, here we go, a pretty easy non-con. Ball State, Southern Illinois, then Notre Dame, which will be a loss. They have to go there as well. So looking at 2-1. But as far as in-conference goes, it is a little bit harder at the top. You have to go to Michigan. You have to play Ohio State. Those are in back-to-back weeks. And the game after that is a road trip to Washington. This is all at the end of the season. Then you have a bye, week 13 bye, which is not the best time to have one, followed by Indiana to close the year. So that's a very hard stretch of your schedule. Before them, too, you have to play USC in week 3. Luckily, they come to your building. Illinois is on the schedule as well, who is among the top of the Big Ten this year. A road trip to Minnesota. That leaves your 2 easiest games, probably a road trip to Northwestern and Rutgers. This is by no means an easy schedule. With that said, Purdue is better this year. They were already competitive in a couple games, Michigan State, Illinois last year, games that they could have and should have won. With more talent on the roster, they should pick off 1 or 2 of these games. I think if you're setting a win total over under, you're looking at 3.5, 4.5, somewhere in that range. And if you're finding it on the low end, around 3.5, over makes a lot of sense to me. Given the talent that this team has, this is just a better overall talent roster. And hopefully with Barry Odom coaching, this should be a better offense and better team overall than they've been in recent years. If you have requests, leave them below. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Georgia Tech's up next. Until then, good luck. We'll see you guys later.